What happens when a regular day at school turns into the worst day of your life? Unfortunately, that's a reality that's happening way too frequently in today's world. Gun violence is the leading cause of death for young people in America and in communities of color. The impact is even greater. Every bullet fired creates two victims, the person in front of the gun and the one pulling the trigger. Living for We, Keep Your Head Up podcast is an award-winning show that focuses on real stories, real struggles, and real solutions in Northeast Ohio. New episodes drop every other Tuesday, where you'll hear from host Marlene Harris-Taylor and her new co-host, Maisha Watkins, the executive director of the Cleveland Peacemakers. No one does a better job bringing you stories from the front lines, victims, survivors, and those fighting for change. Each episode, they sit down with a different organization that's working to end gun violence and provide resources for those affected by gun violence. Whatever kind of help you need, there's a person for you to contact. Listen to Living for We wherever you get your podcasts, or watch the video version on IdeaStream's YouTube channel. You can learn more at ideastream.com/podcast/livingforwe. Subscribe today to Living for We on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Keeping your head up. By the way, if you don't, that ain't your theme song, you gotta have it. Why you don't got Tupac as your theme song? Y'all might have that the intro and the outro.
Well, they're watching today for sure, G. It's the first day of their campaign with us, so we'll make sure they hear your request. Let's talk about the Cleveland Guardians, though, guys. Over the weekend, Zach Meisel of The Athletic wrote an article detailing Stephen Vogt's desire to test out Jose Ramirez in the 2-hole. Jose has said for the majority of his career he feels most comfortable in the 3-hole, but data shows that the number 2 hitter gets more at-bats during the season. Jay, I see you shaking your head, so I want to go last with you on this because I know you're going to disagree with the
Again,
premise.
a misuse of data. Data is only valuable if you use it properly.
Jason, I want you to start. We'll go around the horn and end with Jay. But Jason, what is your thoughts on the Cleveland Guardians experimenting with moving Jose up to the 2-hole in the lineup?
I'm curious to see why Jay is so dead against it. To me, you're trying to maximize the amount of at-bats. I get it. But what's more important to me than where Jose bats is who's batting behind him. I don't care where he bats in the lineup.
That is way more important than where he's batting.
The protection behind him, otherwise he's never going to see a pitch.
That's right.
And this is not a very deep lineup. And so Mike and I were talking about this yesterday during the Cavs game. Who's bat? If you bat him second, I don't care. You want to bat him second? Bat him second. It's more at-bats throughout the course of the season. But who's batting third? My guess, maybe not opening day, but by the time we're into the teeth of the season, my guess would be Kyle Manzardo against righties, and
if he continues to grow,
and Thomas against lefties.
Thomas is who I'm hitting him. Thomas behind him with lefties all the time.
Yeah,
locking that in.
But this lineup gets thin quick, regardless of where Jose's hitting.
And it doesn't matter if you put him at 2, it gets thin even quicker.
And you know what may be is you start Jose's 2 on opening day or April or May or whatever. If Brian Rocchio proves to be the type of hitter that they think he can become, to me, Rocchio becomes sort of an ideal 2 hitter.
Yep, I agree.
And now you can lengthen that lineup out again.
With that.
So if you want to start Jose on opening day in the 2 spot, and I don't know who's pitching for who they open with, Kansas City. Reagans is going to be on the mound for Kansas City, so you bat Lane Thomas third. Yep. Fine, I don't care. But the Guardians are famous for this. Don't pay attention to what they look like on opening day. Pay attention to what they look like in July and August.
Well, that's way more important.
Because it's a far, usually, not always, usually it's a far different team. So I don't care where you bat him, who you batting behind him, and does he offer any sort of protection at all? That's far more important.
I agree with that. The argument to bat him 2 is centered around one piece of data. He'll get 30 more at-bats a year.
Mm-hmm.
Are you kidding me? 1 extra at-bat every 5 games? Who cares? It doesn't matter how many times he bats. What matters is how many men are on base when he bats.
Right.
And this is the not talked about piece. Who the hell's hitting behind him? Who's offering him protection?
Yep.
And it is a whole lot easier to pitch around a big bat in the 2-hole than it is the 3-hole. Because you don't have to pitch to the guy immediately behind him either. You don't. Because in at least for that first trip through the lineup, the potential is you're only going to have 2 men on base. So you can pitch around the 3-hitter to get to the 4-hitter if it's a better matchup. The biggest reason why you don't do it is because Jose has said he doesn't feel as comfortable doing it. Why would you go against a player, your best player's comfort zone? Would Jose do it and never say a word? Yes, he would do it. But Jose is a notorious slow starter.
That's true.
If you put him in the 2-hole in April and he does what he typically does in April, it's still going to look like it's a bad idea. To me, the time to tinker with it is in July, when everybody is warm and everybody's hitting where they normally, by that point, it's all come out in the wash. He's not hitting 210 anymore. He's hitting 270.
Yeah.
I don't think it's broken, so I don't think you need to fix it for the sake of getting him one extra at-bat every 5 games.
And they telling you that they feel a little insecure about their lineup. When you start moving your best hitter around and moving him to the 2-hole, and he says he doesn't want to be there, and you're trying to figure out, okay, well, who do we have to put behind him? I mean, you got Lane Thomas, Manzardo maybe, but they haven't even played him every single day.
I think Manzardo's still a question mark. As much as I want to say
he's having a great spring,
you can't put him in the, okay, we can pen him in for 20 home runs, 25 home runs, and a 280 average.
And I'm not sure that you would want to put him in the 3-hole on opening day in April.
I'm not either. It's a lot more pressure.
So it's a hard conversation because I don't know who's batting behind him. And what's funny is I just looked it up real quick to make sure because I thought this was true. The 2-hole, it's the leadoff guy the first time through, right? It's only one, but
only once.
But the thought is, well, later on in the game there could be guys on base,
and you still have the 8 and 9 hitters setting the table for
the problem with the Guardians is Steven Kwan hit 14 home runs last year, hit a career high, and had a career low in RBIs. So why is that?
Because
there was nobody on base.
Getting on base.
There was nobody on base.
That's right. And as a result of it, one of those 2 guys is gone.
Yeah. And what I'm curious to know is, and I don't know this, I literally just thought of it as we were talking about this. So Kwan hit 14 home runs. How many of his RBIs came as a result of the home runs? And how many then, I mean, obviously he scored himself
So
14.
what percentage?
How many guys were on base?
Yeah.
So if he had 44.
So take his home run RBI out of his mix, and how many did he have?
15, 20?
Not a lot, Jason.
Yeah.
Not
a lot.
The biggest gamble in the world is they are really banking on Rocchio. They really, they drank all that playoff Kool-Aid. Because you got Rocchio and Arias, right?
Well, to his credit, he did it on the biggest stage.
He did.
Yes, and
he
you know
had
what?
A great
I got to
postseason.
tell you, I was in the get rid of Rocchio camp. I
was too.
him.
I wanted Paul DeYoung here to be the shortstop for the playoffs.
I would have been fine with that. But I have to tell you, the way he performed in the playoffs last year, to me, changes everything.
And it was a confident. I mean, he had a pretty bad error in their last game, I think it was. Maybe 2, I don't remember now. But the way that he performed in that postseason should have been a big springboard for him into the offseason, into the winter. And he's carrying the confidence into the spring training
I don't know
now.
what he's hitting. I know I was watching him particularly close at the start of the spring, and he was doing pretty well.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, good. He carried over that
They're high
momentum.
on him.
Jason, as you know, the biggest thing about doing it on that stage, look, did Bucky Dent go on to do great things after his big postseason home run? No, not really.
Yeah.
But with Rocchio, this is a guy that we all felt like it was there. We just had to scratch it. Get it off the surface.
Our Keith Law had him as a top 25 prospect not that long ago.
Once upon a time.
And he's not going to hit 40 home runs. But if he hits 280 with 40 doubles and 18 home runs,
and
I'll
he was
take
hitting
it.
in the clutch in big spots when Jose was failing time after time after time in those spots.
That's why if he's a 2-hole hitter, now Jose slots in at 3, and now you've got a little bit more depth to the lineup.
I think that's the way to go. That's the way I would
But
do
again, I don't know you can start Rocchio as the 2-hole hitter on opening day. That's why I wouldn't pay attention to what April looks like. It's far more important what July looks like.
I just don't understand. I don't understand. I don't get it. I know that we talked, they're not going to sign Naylor, right? Like, he had years left, right? He had 1 more year left.
Yes.
Josh had 1 year left.
And 1 year on this deal before they trade him. I'm like, listen, dude, just run it back. Like, listen, and I'm Project Stockpile. Like, if they would have just said, all right, Jimenez, listen, we get it. You had 1 year where you hit the ball. The last 2 years you've been terrible at the plate, but you're the best field. You might be one of the best position fielders in the game. You're like, okay, we'll take that. Rocchio looks like he came along. Manzardo looks like he's going to get some more minutes this year. Listen, Bazzana might be up at the end of the year. I'm like, okay, well, just say we're going to stay young and figure out Jimenez after this year, and we'll let Naylor walk.
It might have been too late. They had to get off Jimenez's future money. They had to do it now because another poor year from him offensively, it may have been too late.
Rocchio's hitting 300 this spring. I know it's spring training
Yeah.
before anybody jumps down my throat about that. But Manzardo's having a great spring.
Yes, he is.
He's got 3 home runs. He's hitting 368. Look, this may play itself out, but I can get very excited about a Kwan, Rocchio, Ramirez, either Lane Thomas
Carlos
or
Santana.
or Kyle Manzardo, then Carlos Santana. That to me, I can see us. That to me is a lineup that can compete for a playoff spot. But when you put Jose, you said it. When you put Jose in the 2, this lineup gets thin quick.
Yes.
When your best hitter is out of the way at the 2 slot,
That's a long way
who
away.
are you worried about after
It's
him?
a lot different. The Yankees have the luxury of hitting Aaron Judge second because of who else they have.
Jason, when this was going on, I said, the Yankees are ruining baseball. When he was chasing the home runs 2 years ago, and they put him in the leadoff spot,
Yep,
I said, I was shocked because I don't think that was an Aaron Boone move. Not the Aaron Boone that I worked with and had a billion baseball conversations with and really got to know.
Yeah.
To me, I said that's got to be a front office move or Aaron actually asked them to do it.
Yeah.
Didn't make much sense to me. Now, all the numbers geeks love to add, oh, well, look at the extra at-bat. Okay, so if the 2-hitter gets more at-bats, and the number is like 30, gets more at-bats than the 3-hitter, shouldn't the 2-hitter have more RBI? In baseball, as a total.
Mm-hmm.
No, the 3-hitter has more RBIs than the 2-hitter in just about every lineup. So it just doesn't make sense to me. It's the misuse of data.
I get
and
the idea.
baseball's done that before.
I get the idea. It's just like we talk about with the Cavs rotations in the end. You want your best guys get the most playing time. You want your best hitters to have the most opportunities. I get that. That makes sense. I would have no issue with Jose hitting second if they had 3 or 4 more viable, fearsome major league hitters to bat behind them. Right now, they don't.
I agree. But now, if you're going to do it on an aggregate, and that's what they're doing, Vogt mentioned in his discussion about it was, well, we could get him 30 more at-bats a year. Okay, if you're going to aggregate the at-bat numbers, also aggregate the ducks on the pond number.
Yeah.
So tell me, how many RBI opportunities does the average 2-hitter get in a season compared to the average 3-hitter? I don't know that number. I don't have it in front of me. I would be stunned if it isn't significantly higher for the 3-hitters. That's the whole idea.
Yeah.
And you're counting on your 8 and 9 guys in the lineup to get on base 2nd, 3rd, and 4th times through the lineup. And we get really thin at 8 and 9.
Yes.
Not just kind of thin.
Yes.
We're like, there will be days when we're Austin Hedges thin at 9.
And if Bo Naylor bounces back, and again, that's a guy they have high expectations for offensively.
Yep.
If he can bounce back and be just an average major league catcher offensively, and they think his ceiling's a lot higher than that helps a lot. But that's the reason why Kwan had 44 RBIs last year out of the leadoff spot because there was nobody on base. And he hit a career high in home runs.
That means
because there's nobody on base.
If all of his home runs weren't solo shots.
Of course.
He probably had a minimum of 28 RBI off of his home runs.
I'd say at least 20.
Which meant that means the majority of his home runs were solo shots. Yeah. Now, some of them were. He's a leadoff hitter. But even if it was 20, that means that a guy who flirted with 400 and finished near 300 had only 24 RBI
Yeah.
off non-home runs the entire season on a team that scored runs like crazy.
You have no idea what you're going to do with Arias. No plate appearances. Go ahead.
I was able to find the home runs.
Yeah.
Of his 14, 11 were solo shots.
That's sick.
And 3 were 2-run home runs.
Okay, so you can do the math then. That's 11,
17.
13, 15, 17.
Yeah. 17.
Well, here's the
So he had
frightening thing about
27 RBIs, not counting his
all
home
those
runs.
weren't leadoff home runs.
No, of course not. Of course not.
Of course they weren't. The vast majority came later in the game.
But I'm saying he
so
drove
if that's
in 20.
The case,
he
look
drove
how
in
many
27
times he came to
runs.
the plate with no one on base.
He drove in 27 runs.
So the
not
best
counting
you're
home
hoping
runs.
for with Jose is that he'll bat with one man on base. You're going to have a season with him where he has 27 home runs and 55 RBI. That's not doable.
Yeah.
It's just not. Did I sway you?
No, I don't care where he hits. Just give me protection behind him.
Okay. Yeah.
That's been my thing all along. Just make sure that there's something behind him, or he's not going to see a pitch all year.
Yeah. That's true.
This is struggle for runs year.
I hope not.
No, I think
they'll be okay.
I mean, again, people are so tired of Gabi Arias, and I get it. But I'm telling you, he had a phenomenal winter ball.
Yeah.
He hit a pitch. He hit a pitch out the other day. I saw a clip on the black outside, flicked it over the fence in right field. Wow. Like it was a really good at bat. And if
He got talent.
He could throw it through the wall. He's got the best arm of anybody.
Hey, did you guys talk about signing Naquin as a pitcher?
We did.
Yeah.
Okay,
Briefly.
I was off that day. Did anybody like the move as just a flyer?
It's fun. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I liked it.